Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Ross, the tie-dyed traveling guy, coming to you from Venice, California, the birthplace of the Doors. For all of you Doors fans out there, I'm going to take you on a little journey of where this all began and explain how this began starting in 1965. This is the building where Jim lived in the summer of 1965. He ate meals at his friend Dennis Jacobs' apartment and slept on the rooftop at night. At night, Jim would look out over the ocean and over the Venice rooftops while tripping on LSD. Jim was constantly writing in his journals, documenting the rock and roll concert that was happening in his head. The building is obviously owned and operated by a Doors fan since it is called the Morrison Apartments. The building is located on the corner of Speedway and Westminster. So I took a little walk over to this building, took some pictures in front of it. It still looks like it's in pretty good condition. I wasn't able to go inside, but I did walk around the building a little bit. And literally walking in Jim Morrison's footsteps. You know, I really wanted to get inside. I did knock on the door. That's another picture of me. I've been there multiple times. In this picture, you can see kind of towards the rooftop that it's kind of breaking apart a little bit. So hopefully they have fixed that, and whoever is owning it currently is keeping everything up to date. Around Venice, there's a lot of murals of Jim Morrison. This mural of Jim was painted by artist Rip Kronk in 1991 at the intersection of Speedway and 18th. In 2012, Kronk undertook a major makeover of the mural, drastically changing background colors plus adding additional detail to Jim. You can also see more of Rip's murals up and down Speedway and Oceanfront Walk. So we took a walk down to there as well. This is also a place that I've been to multiple times. And it is the entire side of the building. This is super cool to see in person. You know, the picture definitely does not do this justice. But the mural was very well painted, and, you know, with the sun, with the rain, with everything out there, you know, it does kind of fade a little bit. That's why he had to go back and kind of touch it up, give it a little bit of a makeover. So hopefully, as we continue on into the future, that it will be taken care of as well. And from what I saw, Arnold Schwarzenegger's on the other side of that building. This mural here of Jim is a little bit further north, if I have my directions correct. Pretty close to the Cadillac Motel. Stayed there back in April of 2019. Rooftop, you know, views are beautiful. The next spot we went to, 50 Brooks Avenue. The band had their photo taken in front of this very cool Drink Coca-Cola mural, which had the perspective of walking down an old Venice street. The mural itself was in bad shape up until 2020 when it was restored to its former glory. The mirror image building that the mural was created to mimic is still there as well. 2 buildings to the right with the original mural still faintly visible. Wouldn't it be nice if that one could be restored as well? I agree. So this I walked over to as well, and you see, you know, one picture of the Doors here. They had a green Martian in some of the other photos that they took in front of this Coca-Cola building. And I didn't have a green Martian to take pictures with, but I did walk over there just to check it out. There is a fence in front of that when I was there, and I'm pretty sure this was January 2015 when I was there. And from what I've seen recently, that entire side of the building has been completely painted over and covered up. Sad to see. So walking up and down this Venice boardwalk, I know there are a lot of pictures of, you know, the Doors walking up and down, you know, past. It's tough to kind of line things up because a lot of the stores are different, but there are still a lot of things that are the same as far as different light posts and whatnot. There's another shot shooting, I believe north is behind me, but as we're walking down the boardwalk or up the boardwalk, whatever you want to say, we are heading more towards what is known as the starting place of the Doors, 811 Oceanfront Walk, Marina del Rey, California. This is a famous rehearsal space where the Doors arranged songs like Light My Fire. In 1969, it was turned into a condominium. So this is a place right here from that very first house where they began as the Doors in the summer of 1965. They worked on Light My Fire, they worked on Moonlight Drive, as well as some of the other songs. So let's check it out. Here is the house at 811 Oceanfront Walk. It is all boarded up. They had plywood all around it, but I kind of snuck around a little bit, climbed up on the wood to see if I could get a little peek in there. And once again, there multiple times. The only thing that was different was the graffiti that was on that plywood. And I have also realized that this may not be the exact house because I believe I was in Venice or even Santa Monica at 811 Oceanfront Walk, and the original house is Marina del Rey. All right, y'all. So this may not be the actual house that the Doors were formed in 1965, since I did read that the house at 811 Oceanfront Drive in Marina del Rey was torn down in 1969, and there were condominiums built. This is 811 Santa Monica, Venice Beach. Super cool house, a lot of history there, and this beach is where they were formed. It was right here that the Doors were created in the summer of 1965. Ray Manzarek was just sitting out on the beach. He had just graduated from UCLA, and who comes strolling up the beach but James Douglas Morrison. And they started talking, and Ray asked Jim, I thought you were going to be going to New York. And Jim decided he's going to stay out in Venice Beach, out in the LA area. He was living up on Dennis Jacobs' rooftop. We visited that a little bit earlier in this journey. And he wrote songs. He wrote poetry. And Ray was like, "Oh, you've been writing songs?" And Ray said, "Sing me one." And Ray, was kind of pushing him a little bit. And Jim was shy. But finally, Jim sang Moonlight Drive, and you know how that goes. Let's swim to the moon, let's climb to the tide. I'm a horrible singer, so hopefully I didn't make your ears bleed too bad, but, from then on, the rest is pretty much history. Ray was absolutely blown away by the lyrics. He loved the poetry. He loved the words. And he asked Jim, he's like, "Do you have more?" And Jim was like, "Yeah, I got a whole concert going on in my head." And, Ray's like, "Hey, we need to get a band together, go make $1 million." And Jim had the idea to name the band The Doors of Perception. And Ray thought that was a little bit weird, but he went with it, and they went out and they got John Densmore, and Ray's brothers were playing in the band for a little bit, but it wasn't going anywhere, so they quit. And then they brought Robbie in, and then they started working on Light My Fire, Moonlight Drive, and then kind of the rest is history. They played at the London Fog, and then they moved on to the Whiskey, and then as soon as Light My Fire hit the radio, it was all over from there. And we're going to walk on down to the Venice canals. We're going to check that out. We're going to go to the Venice pier because they had written some songs, done a lot of different things in that area with Unknown Soldier. Hey, here I am back on the boardwalk heading towards the Venice canals. There definitely are some pictures of the doors with these arches in the background, also some lamp posts or light posts, if you will. But as we're heading down to the Venice canals, they did a photo shoot with Bobby Klein. There's still some debate as to the exact locations of the Bobby Klein photo shoots, but that shouldn't stop you from taking a long walk through the canals to try and find them yourself. The exact bridges that the doors were photographed on are long gone, replaced by newer, safer structures. Take a walk on Carroll Canal Walk and Grand Canal, and you will surely be walking in the footsteps of Jim, Ray, Robbie, and John. If you think you have some new photos of the exact locations of the original Bobby Klein, send them to that website. There's me taking some photos myself. Venice canals, bridge in the background. That one may not have existed when the doors were there, but it was still really cool to walk around that area. Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Ross coming to you live from the Venice canals in Venice, California. For those of you that may have watched an earlier session, I talked about my love for the Doors. And for those of you that have seen the Doors movie with Val Kilmer, you may recognize these canals, these bridges, these walkways as the Doors once walked back in 65, 66. So pretty cool, a lot of history around here, just cruising around. Got a couple more hours in Venice, and then I need to catch an Uber over to the Los Angeles airport, and I'm flying out.
Head northwest on Strong's Drive towards South Venice Boulevard. In 1,000 feet, turn right onto South Venice Boulevard.
Alright, so yeah, I think I fly out like 1:25 p.m., something like that, so I'm just enjoying this just a little bit longer while I still can. And then it's time to hop on the bird and fly out of Los Angeles. So hey, hope you all are doing well. Staying warm up in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Bundle up, stay inside, make a fire, but only if you have a fireplace. So hey, there we go. Alright, so hey, oh geez, awesome hair, I didn't even realize. Perfect. Alright, so hey, see you soon. Here's one more picture of me at the Venice canals right before I head to the Venice pier. If you've seen the Doors movie, you would recognize these canals early in the movie where Jim follows Pam back to a house at the canals, climbs into the window and says hello. But that's not how they met. They actually met at the London Fog. Walking down the Venice pier. Gonna catch an Uber. Praying for safe travels. Hope all goes well. I'm not a big fan of flying, but if you want to go to places like this, you kind of have to fly. You don't have to. You can drive, but hey, you just get there a whole lot faster when you fly. So flying is out of my comfort zone. Parasailing is out of my comfort zone. Zip lining was out of my comfort zone. And those are some of the most exciting, fun, and fantastic things that I've done in my life. So, step outside your comfort zone and see how fun and amazing your life can look like 3 to 5 years from now. See y'all soon. And I'm heading back north again, and I stopped at the Muscle Beach in Venice. I have never seen any pictures of Jim or any of the other guys at Muscle Beach. They didn't really seem like the workout kind of crowd unless it was doing 12-ounce curls or things like that. But I did walk up to the Santa Monica pier, and I did see a video not too long ago where Ray Manzarek was talking about how Jim would spend a lot of time under the pier, writing songs, writing poetry. Ray even said that he wrote The End under the Santa Monica pier. So it was really cool to walk up around the pier. Obviously, you can see up on top of the pier. This was April of 2019, where you're seeing this photo here. And a little bit before that is when I was actually down on the beach, literally walking on the same beach, walking in the footsteps, not literally, of course, because those footprints are long gone, but being on the beach where Ray and Jim found each other. Woo. Good stuff. All right. Santa Monica, Venice looks like it's kind of looks like a pink sky. There's Venice down that way. The water's cold, but the air is nice. 70 degrees still. Santa Monica Pier, Santa Monica Beach, Santa Monica Boulevard. Yeah, that's my freestyle. Alright, y'all. Good times. Later. As we leave Venice, where it all began in the summer of 1965, they started playing early 1966 at the London Fog, but that didn't last too long, and then they moved just a few doors down to the Whisky A Go-Go. If you go west on Sunset Boulevard about 3 miles, you come to ground zero of the West Coast rock scene, the Whisky A Go-Go. The Whisky is the quintessential rock and roll nightclub. Sorry, CBGB, but it's true. And since 1964 has played host to some of the most memorable gigs in history. Name an important group and chances are they've graced the stage at the Whisky at some point in their career. Hendrix, The Who, Zeppelin, the list is endless. The Doors were the house band for a time, and the venue even popularized the concept of the go-go dancer. White boots and all, no visit to LA is complete without catching a gig at the Whisky. So of course, we had to do just that. We went to the Whisky for the very first time in January 2015. You can read that, what's on there, if you just want to stop and pause real quick. But we got tickets, and by we, I mean my wife Heather and I. At that time, though, this picture, she was just my girlfriend. So we'll just go with that for now, but looking good, right? So, hey, when you go to the Whisky for the very first time, it's like taking a trip back to the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s. And I say 80s because Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, a lot of big bands really got their start. But we saw a Jim Morrison celebration called Wild Child. And not only was it a bucket list item to go to the Whisky, but to actually see a Doors tribute band at the Whisky was absolutely amazing. So when you walk there, usually there's going to be a line unless you get there super early. And we wanted to have the full experience. So we walked up and down the Sunset Strip before we really came back to the Whisky. And being that it's California, things are a lot more open out there. And once we got inside, I just stood there for maybe like 5 minutes, just looking around and just in awe of everything that I saw. And, obviously one of the very first things that you see when you come in is the stage and the setup. And you can see I was pretty excited to be there. And you walk around and literally Jim Morrison and Robbie and Ray, and it's just like John and all of these people were literally walking there. And, one of the first pictures on the wall that you see is of Ray, Robbie, and John, autographed, memorabilia all over the walls. It's not just the doors, but that was my focus. That's what I was looking at. And you have Jim up on the wall, multiple pictures of the Jim. Weird that there's a Southern Comfort bottle there because Jim drank whiskeys, Jack Daniel specifically. At one point, I had read that he was drinking 2 or 3 bottles of whiskey every single day. They didn't have detox or Betty Ford clinics or anything like that. So Jim was just a lost soul, battling his addictions, battling his demons, and alcohol, was just one of those demons that got to Jim. Here's another picture here, and you can see in that picture he's got those brown leather pants on, and those are pants that he wore almost every single day for 2 years. So I can only imagine how ripe those were around summertime when it was getting hot in California. And this picture here, 1966, the Doors at the Whisky A Go-Go. This photo has been lined up with, the exit sign that is still there, but everything else around it looks a lot different than it did back in 1966. The stage itself, was a lot smaller back then than it is now. They had, the go-go dancers up in the booths that were, on the second level above the stage, to the right, to the left, not necessarily above the stage, but very nearby. So I believe his name is David Breck. He is the singer of Wild Child. Dead ringer for Jim. He looks like Jim, sounds like Jim, and he was even so good that Robbie and Ray took him on tour as the Doors of the 21st Century, but also they had to change their name to Riders on the Storm after a while. I saw them as the Doors of the 21st Century with Ian Astbury in 2004, but I saw David Breck with Wild Child, so that was pretty cool. This is from the balcony of the Whisky. And from the balcony, you can see a lot more up there, different guitars, another picture of Jim, and that is also a grave, marking, where you take some sort of pencil and grave rubbing, perhaps, is the correct term. More pictures there, Jim and Jimmy. I believe that's Mario up in the upper left-hand corner. He was, they called him, the mayor of the Sunset Strip. He was a big part of the Sunset Strip, and he tried to get Jim straightened out and shaking, "What are you doing?" And Jim would just look at Mario, smile, and say, "I love you, Mario." All right, so as we leave the show, looking east down the Sunset Strip towards the Whisky, it's just a party. Even now, definitely nothing like it was back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but there were still a lot of people out there, so much history, rock history, music history. The Viper Club right around the corner, where River Phoenix passed. The Rainbow Room is right around the corner. And the Doors at the Hollywood Bowl is not too far from the Sunset Strip. This picture I found actually at Barney's Beanery, which we'll take you to in just a little bit here. But the Doors did play at the Hollywood Bowl July 5th, 1968, as you can see there. Live at the Hollywood Bowl, the Doors. Morrison has become such a legend that it's hard to find a vocalist today who hasn't borrowed something from the Lizard King's look and sound. And ultra cool swagger. The man defined the role of the moody frontman in modern rock. These brown leather pants were worn by him nearly every day for the better part of 2 years, including the Doors' performance at the Hollywood Bowl in 1968. They've been photographed literally thousands of times and one of the great treasures of the hard rock collection. Right before the Hollywood Bowl, Mick Jagger visited Jim at his hotel. We'll get to that in a minute. But you see, at the Hollywood Bowl, before the concert, Jim's just out there kind of walking around on, there's, if you've ever been there, there's concrete barriers in between the sections. So he's just walking along the concrete barrier. It's not super narrow, so no fear of falling. This is Section E of the Hollywood Bowl. I was just at the Hollywood Bowl this past October 2024 for David Gilmour, and Section E, Row 5, Seat 15 is where I was sitting. So I came across this photo of Jim sitting in Section E right around 17, 19. I tried to figure out, by counting, okay, well, how many rows is he from the front? How many is he from the back? I was really trying to figure out where I was in comparison to Jim. So this is my buddy Chris and I at that David Gilmour concert. We're actually standing Section E, Row 15 right now because that's where Chris's ticket was. My ticket was in same section, E, Row 5. So that was really cool. Barney's Beanery, one of the finest establishments in West Hollywood. Maybe not the finest establishments, but maybe once upon a time, movie stars. This place has been open for over 100 years, and right around 1968, 1970, maybe early 1971, this was the bar that Jim went to because it was close to the Alta Cienega Motel, which we're going to go to in just a minute. It was close to the Doors workshop, where they recorded L.A. Woman, and it was a 15-minute walk to the Whisky A Go-Go. All right, y'all, we're at Barney's Beanery in West Hollywood, California. This is the bar that Jim Morrison hung out at and supposedly urinated on. Right here at the corner. So yeah, this is the spot.
Whatever you think.
Alright, y'all. Jim Morrison.
I'm kidding.
Urinated at the bar right here.
Okay.
Barney's Beanery. Jack Daniels.
Get your
Cheers.
5 fucking iced teas in and get on the motorcycle.
Good stuff.
Oh, shit. Hey.
Alright. Cheers.
There we go.
This is the spot, y'all. According to Ray, Robbie, John, not sure exactly who verified it, but this was where Jim would sit. And the chairs there are old school, bolted to the floor type of chairs. They're not move them around type of bar stools. So it is very possible that that is the exact chair that Jim Morrison sat in when he came to Barney's Beanery. And there was that time that he did urinate on the bar and he got 86 for a while, kicked out, but obviously they let him back in. So as we leave Barney's Beanery, it's a short 5-minute walk, not even a 5-minute walk, to the Alta Cienega Motel, where Jim would stay whenever Pam would kick him out, which would tend to get often. It was a pretty volatile relationship. But this is the Alta Cienega Motel with my buddy Chris and I. Right above our heads is Jim's room, number 32. They would always keep a room for him there, and that is the place where he would always stay. A lot of songs were written there. This hotel is famous for being the hotel where Jim once lived. This Hollywood motel is a 2-minute drive from the Sunset Strip. It features a 24-hour front desk and features free Wi-Fi. Probably not so much when Jim was there, but the air-conditioned rooms at Alta Cienega Motel include a work desk and a private bathroom. Cable TV and ironing facilities are available upon request. If guests prefer, they can stay in Jim Morrison's old room, which features a graffiti-lined bathroom. Hollywood attractions and clubs such as the House of Blues, the Laugh Factory, and the Whisky A Go-Go are within a 3-minute drive from this motel. Venice Beach is a 20-minute drive away. So this hotel was actually closed when we were there in October of 2024. From what I've seen on other videos, it closed during COVID, sometime during 2020, and it has not been reopened since. So I'm hoping they will reopen. Supposedly they're doing some remodeling. Jim Morrison's room was number 32. So as you enter in the motel when it's open, you kind of walk into the parking lot and you immediately go to the right. You walk up the stairs, take a right, take another right, walk to the end of the hall, and you will find this in room 32. These are just pictures that I found online. But one day, hopefully, that they will reopen, and I would stay there. I don't know about y'all, but I don't just want to go to Jim's room, but I want to spend the night there. And y'all might think I'm crazy. People say it might be haunted, but I still think it would be pretty cool. Maybe just one night. Don't want to rent it for 2 or 3 nights and then get kind of freaked out, weirded out on that first night and then just want to leave. But like I mentioned earlier, a lot of songs were written specifically for LA Woman. The song Cars Hiss By My Window, written here, looking out that window that was directly above our heads. So when we were down looking up from the ground level up towards Jim's room, you know, there's graffiti on the ceilings, there's graffiti on the walls, literally everywhere, on the furniture. So hopefully when they're remodeling, fixing this up, that they do not paint over all of that. That would be crazy. So right around the corner from Alta Cienega is where The Doors recorded LA Woman. It was upstairs, downstairs. The downstairs area was more of the recording area. The upstairs area was more of the office area and the soundboard. We happened to go there on a Tuesday. So as you can see in the upper right, they're only open Wednesday to Sunday. But I am planning a trip back there April of 2025, and we fly in on a Friday, and we're actually going to stay at the Ramada right around the corner, assuming the Alta Cienega is not available. So this is where Jim Morrison recorded the vocals for LA Woman. This is the bathroom at the Doors Workshop, which is now Tail of the Pup. It's a hot dog stand. So I'm going to go eat some hot dogs, and I'm going to go sit in that bathroom. I'm going to sing some songs and handle my business. This picture right here looks right around that time. They just look tired. There was a lot of turmoil in the band, mainly because of, Jim's addiction and his erratic behavior, more so live performances, but that was Jim. Walking up to Hollywood Boulevard, multiple good shots of the Hollywood sign. And this is why so many people want to come to this area is because of the history, because of the music, because of everything. As you walk in to the Hard Rock Cafe on Hollywood Boulevard, one of the first things that you'll see is a huge wall dedicated to Jim Morrison in his brown leather pants. Because these brown leather pants were worn by him nearly every day for the better part of 2 years, including the Doors performance at the Hollywood Bowl in 1968. They've been photographed literally thousands of times and are one of the great treasures of the Hard Rock collection. So these pants up on the wall, obviously protected, a huge photo of Jim right by these pants as well. But you stand next to it and it's like, they look really small, to be real. I know Jim was 5'11", but maybe he was a skinny dude, though. I don't know exactly how much he weighed, 140, 150, maybe towards the end when he got a little bit bigger, 160. But, those pants, these days, they call them skinny jeans. But obviously, they're not jeans, baby. They call them skinny leathers. But those were pretty cool to see. It looked like at some point they got cut up a little bit. I heard Pam and Violent Rage kind of cut things up a little bit. And right there on Hollywood Boulevard, couldn't tell you exactly where the Doors star is, but it's out there somewhere. Walk around, look at all the stars. It's a great time. So as we wrap things up, the final resting place, Père Lachaise in Paris. This is a picture a friend of mine sent me because I have not been there yet. I will get there. From what I've seen recently, there are fences around it. I'm jumping it. April, like I mentioned, going back to West Hollywood because it's the Doors' 60th anniversary. 2025. Robbie Krieger is playing April 26th at the Whisky A Go-Go. LA Woman in its entirety. And I made some shirts. Because I'm the tie-dye traveling guy and that's what I do. Walking billboard. Happy 60th for the Doors. Got a little tie-dye on the sleeves, a little bit around the collar. And that is all 8 of their studio albums. 6 with Jim. 2 without Jim. On the back, the shot of the original house of where the Doors very first started in 1965. So, hey, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, and share.